Disney is now kind of admitting they have gotten woke and then gone broke as it pertains to Star Wars. They are struggling to win over the next generation of kids, and I think I know why. The Last Jedi was terrible. They're regurgitating, like, okay, The Force Awakens was trash. It wasn't that bad, but I say it's trash because it was essentially a shot-for-shot remake of A New Hope. And then you have The Last Jedi, which was so bad, I wanted to walk out of the theater, and the only reason I didn't is because it was Star Wars and I felt it was culturally relevant. But in this video segment right here, the woman says, wait a minute, you mean to say they opened one of the most anticipated, like, theme parks or whatever about Star Wars and attendance is down? And this guy's like, yup. I wonder why young people don't care for Star Wars. Could it be that over time we developed a pretty like standard model for what is an entertaining story arc called the hero's journey? Now, I admit following the same arc can be kind of boring and dry, and people can point it out. But the hero's, I believe it's called the hero's journey, is a standard formula. You can add nuance to it, and maybe it works. When you change it and inject a bunch of Mary Sues and bad plot lines and bring in bad directors, you have to admit, perhaps you're making trash content. You know, a lot of people said it was fatigue, but people have seen too much Star Wars. Wrong. I have seen every single Marvel movie, even Captain Marvel, and I do not like that. Or Brie Larson specifically. I thought the movie wasn't good at all. I thought it was really poorly made. So hey, you know, keep your head on your shoulders, Marvel. The point is, Marvel's also been around for a very long time and has no trouble getting young people to watch these movies. Marvel's done a fantastic job. What is Star Wars doing wrong? Star Wars is an epic universe and a huge franchise. I'll tell you what they're doing wrong. They don't care about the fans. Therefore, look, the extended universe has basically just like been like wiped out. They're doing a disservice to Star Wars and Star Wars fans. And I said this when, after The Last Jedi, I will never see another Star Wars movie. I have not yet seen Solo. I just can't bring myself to do it. I'll admit, like a week ago, I turned it on, it was like on Netflix, and I watched the first 5 minutes, and then I was like, I just can't do it. I just really can't do it. And now they've got the new movie coming out, I guess in December, called like The Rise of Skywalker. I am definitely not going to see that movie. The Last Jedi was so bad, I do not believe it is physically or in any capacity possible, imaginationally, abstractly, there's literally no way you recover from The Last Jedi, okay? I've got a great imagination. I think I'm really good at making up stories. I'm telling you this now, no matter, like, okay, wait, hold on. No, I'm wrong. There is a way to save Star Wars. Imagine this. The Rise of Skywalker, the third movie, starts. And it starts with a zoom in on Rey's eyes. They're closed. And then all of a sudden she opens her eyes, sits up, and it's the end of The Force Awakens, and she goes, oh, I must have dreamt that whole thing. That whole movie, it never happened. And then she winks at the camera, and they start over, and they act like The Last Jedi wasn't a thing. Let's read the news about Star Wars getting woke and going broke. And I will say it's not necessarily getting woke and going broke. I'm being facetious. I get it. Now, before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address. Of course, the best thing you can do, just share this video. YouTube is deranked independent political commentary like mine, and they're propping up big corporate media, so when you share, it really does help. Bloomberg writes, it's hard to say this as someone who grew up pretending to be Han Solo battling Darth Vader and his stormtroopers to rescue Leia, but it must be said, kids might not be into Star Wars anymore. Yeah, it's called bad writing, because Marvel's doing great. Walt Disney Co.'s underwhelming theme park attendance last quarter was the latest sign that the intergalactic saga isn't resonating for younger generations raised on Iron Man and Fortnite. Chief Executive Officer Bob Iger was so sure fans would be blasting through the door that he had instituted a reservation system for visitors to enter Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, the new attraction at Disneyland. It turned out not to be necessary. Star Wars toys sales popped with 2015's The Force Awakens, the start of a trilogy that united Han, Luke, and Leia with a new band of heroes. It actually didn't. Luke wasn't in it. At the I don't think was he in it at all? Was he in the end briefly? But have slumped since. You know why they slumped? The Last Jedi was terrible. I remember all the videos coming out where people are like, "Wow, the toys are all on clearance. Nobody wanted to buy them." They have slumped since Solo, a Star Wars story, last year's spin-off featuring the backstory of beloved characters, utterly bombed. You know why it bombed? The Last Jedi was bad. It made a ton of money because people thought The Force Awakens wasn't that bad. I like The Force Awakens. I call it trash because it was a shot-for-shot remake of A New Hope, but maybe they'll do better. Instead, so I went to see The Last Jedi, based off the movie before it. They made a ton of money. I will never see a Star Wars movie again. Solo bombed. They say The Last Jedi, the second in the new trilogy, was profitable but fell shy of its predecessor's performance. The next installment, The Rise of Skywalker, will have the very future of the franchise riding on it when it debuts in December. There wasn't supposed to be such a disturbance in the Force. Ah, how funny. When Disney bought Lucasfilm in 2012 for $4.05 billion, it already had a template for the intricate web of sequels and spin-offs it hoped to create around the Star Wars brand. Marvel Entertainment, acquired 3 years earlier, had rolled out a series of interrelated movies with characters who went on to join up in Avengers. Then Disney's most successful ever. The films are supposed to combine with TV projects and the theme parks to create a virtuous cycle where fans get excited for each new iteration and can immerse themselves in the world of their heroes. There was every reason to believe Star Wars would have a similar path, with its endearing droids, otherworldly lifeforms, and minor characters like Lando Calrissian and Boba Fett who inspired their own cult followings. And since the creation of the original Star Wars series, a beautiful and unique extended universe came into existence that expanded the lore and ignited the imaginations of those fans. I love Knights of the Old Republic. That was an amazing game. There was so much that they could have done. And what did they do? The Force Awakens was basically A New Hope all over again. Didn't really make sense. Why is there a First Order? What's a resistance? Like, why do they exist? Didn't they win? Did that just erase the victory and now they're struggling again? I don't understand what you're doing. You could have done so much better. By introducing a new threat, there was a lot of speculation that for a while that people said the goal of the Emperor, he was uniting the galaxy because an external threat was coming and he could tell because of force powers or whatever. That would have been a great story arc. Imagine if Force Awakens starts with everybody being like, hey, life is good, and then all of a sudden a new threat emerges, completely expanding the Star Wars universe and then shining light onto the actions of the Emperor. Maybe he wasn't completely evil. Maybe he did what he had to do. I don't know. Instead, what do we get? Snoke? No idea who that is. Kylo Ren? Okay, not bad. Kind of just a ripoff of Darth Vader. The Knights of Ren. That's interesting. Oh, they threw that one out the window. Talk about trash. Let's read on. Fan sniping. Instead, some of the franchise's most dedicated fans have been sniping at the way Disney has handled their favorite characters from the old movies. And the new trilogy's heroes like Rey, Poe Dameron just haven't inspired the same fervor among young people, with toy sales falling flat around each new installment. The Disneyland attractions, along with a Star Wars land opening at Disney World in Florida this year, are designed as much for older dudes as they are for tykes. But why would I go following the trash that was The Last Jedi? Never gonna happen. I'm also disappointed in Fallout, but that's a whole other thing. I just bring that up because I feel like things I used to really like just were completely ruined by people who had no idea what they were doing. They say, I'll skip this. Iger has attributed disappointing box office figures to Star Wars fatigue, and he's pledged to slow down the tempo of releases. Wrong. If you put out a Marvel movie every weekend, I would be at the movies every single weekend. I went and saw Homecoming. Wasn't the best movie in the world, but I loved it. It was awesome to see the Mysterio fight scene. That was amazing how they did it. I thought it was great. Not the best movie in the world, not the best Marvel movie, but I loved the way they did the Mysterio fight scene and they developed the character. It was great. I'm worried about what they're going to do in the future. We'll see what happens. I'm stoked for Doctor Strange coming out when it does. We'll see. But dude, I would seriously watch. I said I didn't want to see Captain Marvel. I went and saw it anyway. I didn't think it was good. But I'd probably, actually, I don't know if I'd see a sequel to that movie. But I will stress, there are a lot of movies that Marvel could put out. I'd go see. I would go see the weirdest, most obscure Marvel movie if they put it out. I went and saw Venom. That was pretty bad. But they could make a Kraven the Hunter film. I'd go see it. Not like the most prolific character, but I trust Marvel to make movies that work. That's why I went and saw Captain Marvel. As much as I didn't like the marketing and it looked bad, I thought, you know what though? Marvel does a pretty good job. I think they'll figure it out. And it kind of didn't, so, it is what it is. But let's read on. They say, Oh, they even say this. That doesn't square with the success of Marvel, which reliably churns out a blockbuster every 4 to 6 months. Some people delayed their visits to Star Wars Galaxy Edge because they thought it'd be overwhelmed by tourists when it opened, Iger said Tuesday, channeling Yogi Berra. In other words, nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. Ha ha ha. Wizarding World. So where are they going instead? One clue could be the rising attendance over at Universal Studios Hollywood, where the Wizarding World of Harry Potter saw an increase in spring break visitors last quarter, fueling sales of souvenirs and butterbeer. But I will stress, too, The Crimes of Grindelwald was trash. Fantastic Beasts was okay. Crimes of Grindelwald was terrible. And now I kind of feel like I should make a new channel to talk about cultural stuff like Star Wars, because this channel is almost entirely politics, but you know what? Whatever. This is culturally political, and I thought it was relevant. They say, Disney plans to parlay the robust Marvel properties into theme park attractions of their own, but it isn't giving up on Star Wars by any stretch. Along with The Rise of Skywalker, the company is debuting a live-action TV series, The Mandalorian, I won't watch, later this year on its new streaming service. The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson is developing a new trilogy. Why? And the creators of Game of Thrones are working on a movie. Okay, that's maybe. This may be a hiatus, but Disney spent a lot of money on Lucasfilm, and it's going to keep investing to make it a success. We build these things for the long term, Iger said of Galaxy's Edge, or as Yoda might say, patience you must have. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Star Trek. I love Star Trek. Mostly the 90s era stuff. I love Enterprise is my absolute favorite, then Deep Space Nine, then Voyager. Voyager, it's okay, okay? It's not the greatest. Didn't watch Enterprise because I didn't want to see a prequel. Don't care for Discovery, don't want to see a prequel. Now they're doing Picard. Finally carry on with the story of the Star Trek universe, please. Star Trek The Next Generation took place after the first Star Trek. Maybe that's an idea. However, I believe they don't understand what truly makes something Star Trek. So I like what Seth MacFarlane's done with the Orville. It's funny, it's thought-provoking, and it's kind of like The Next Generation. And people have actually been mad about that, feeling like he's just ripping them off. Well, you know what? At least he's making a show like that. It's cool. I like that it's funny. I like that it's somewhat serious. I like the sci-fi elements. I like how they try to tackle cultural issues just like Star Trek did. Seth MacFarlane, spot on. Big fan. I love him calling out the wackos on the Democrat side too. Can't go wrong. I mean, he can. Okay, I'm kidding. But anyway, the point is, maybe something needs to happen where a not Star Wars gets made by people who actually like the core idea of what Star Wars used to be. Because it's certainly not a thing that I care about anymore. I am not going to watch any shows. Like, I kid you not. The Last Jedi was so bad, I actually vowed I will never watch another Star Wars again. You have no idea. And the same is true for Fallout. I'm over it. I'm looking forward to the Outer Worlds. We'll see what happens. But I am not going to watch The Mandalorian. I'm not... Rian Johnson trilogy? Just punch me in the stomach right now and take my $20. I'm not gonna, like, I would pay you for that instead of seeing that trilogy. You're insane. I'll leave it there. You get the idea. Star Wars, get woke, go broke. Stick around. Next segment will be coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. Podcast every day at 6:30 p.m. And I will see you all then.